There was kind of a bit of surprising news with the Eagles in the fact that they ended up firing Doug Pederson, their head coach. He was a guy that was on the hot seat, so it's not much of a surprise that Doug Pederson was fired. It's just the fact that, it was a week after the season. You would have thought, okay, if he made it out of that first week of the playoffs and, the regular season being over, you would have thought, okay, he's safe. They're going to run it back. They're going to make some changes, whatever it may be. Defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz was already not going to be back. So it looked like, Doug Pederson was going to get another shot at this. But instead, Eagles owner Jeffrey Lurie fired Doug Pederson, and they're going to be looking to move in a different direction. Now, if you think back to this, a little bit of a surprise. Doug Pederson got fired after his 5th season. Not too long ago, he was 13-3, and the Philadelphia Eagles won their first Super Bowl in however long. They followed that up with 2 9-7 seasons when they made the playoffs. Won a playoff game in year 3. Looked like they were able to win a playoff game in year 4, and then this past year, it was just an utter disaster. So in the meetings with Jeffrey Lurie, it must have been clear to him that Doug Pederson didn't know how to fix this franchise, didn't know how to fix Carson Wentz, and Lurie didn't feel comfortable moving forward with Doug Pederson and decided to go in a different direction. So it'll be fascinating to see where they go. This has to be a very intriguing job. The roster has talent, but teams have to say, do we think, or not teams, but coaches that are looking at this job, they think, can we resurrect, can we build back up Carson Wentz? But let's take a look. Let's take a look at what happened with the Philadelphia Eagles, how they fell to this part where they're picking 6th overall. They're looking for a new head coach. The thing about the Eagles, and it's been this way for the last several years, injuries have really cost this team. Just thinking about this year, all 5 of their offensive line was their strength. And at one point, all 5 of their offensive linemen were hurt. At one point, all at the same time. Andre Dillard, their left tackle, who they took in the first round a few years back, he's supposed to be the full-time starter this year, got hurt early on, missed the entire year. Brandon Brooks, highest paid guard in NFL history, missed all of the season. Lane Johnson was hurt at various times. Even their backups to their starters got hurt. So they're playing 3rd, 4th string guys, and it's hard to have success with your offense when you're playing 3rd and 4th string guys on a continued basis. Not to mention, 2 of their top receivers missed time. Jalen Reagor missed time at the start of the season. Alshon Jeffrey's been missing time the last couple of years. The secondary is banged up. Injuries have really cost this team and prevented them from having the team that we thought. Zach Ertz missed time. Dallas Goedert missed time. A lot of their weapons. Carson Wentz was out there struggling, but he really didn't have, Travis Fulgham. No one knew who this guy was before the season started, and that was the guy, him and Greg Ward, that Carson Wentz was having to throw the ball to because of injuries. Now, we cannot talk about the Eagles' struggles this year without talking about Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz was a quarterback that after year two of Carson Wentz's career, he was looked to be the MVP of the NFL. He was on track to win it. Week 14, week 15, tears his ACL, out for the year. Nick Foles comes in that year. They went 13-3, won the Super Bowl. Foles comes in, leads that team to the Super Bowl. Even the years after that, the 2 years after that, Carson Wentz had success. Year 4, last year, he carried that team once again with guys like Greg Ward as his primary receiver. And he's carrying them to the playoffs. Heck, they had a shot to beat the Seahawks. It was like a 1-score game, and he left the game with a concussion. So he had success, just injuries constantly. And here's a guy that's been constantly injured. Senior year of college, broken wrist, missed most of the year. As a rookie in camp, hurts his ribs. Mention year 2 tears his ACL. Year 3 he has a back injury where they shut him down. Year 4 concussion. This year stays injury free but just has a terrible year. So how much, I look back to his struggles this year, how much was that is his body just beat up and maybe his confidence is lacking. Maybe he's had so many injuries that it's on his mind and it's affecting his play. And hopefully maybe this year injury free can kind of remove some of that doubt. I don't know. But the fact that he's been injured a lot, I think has something to do with it. I mean, like I said, he looked like he was a guy that was going to be the next elite quarterback. He looked like he was a guy that had future top 5 quarterback in the NFL type talent. Now, you can't put all this. I mean, Carson Wentz deserves his fair share of the blame. I mean, that's clear. That's evident. It's not like, oh, everyone else's fault besides Carson Wentz. Hey, I think the organization failed Carson Wentz too. If you think about it, I've mentioned several times, lack of weapons. Alshon Jeffrey was a big free agent signing. He's barely played the last several years. Barely played. They brought in Torrey Smith, I think was supposed to be a guy. They brought back Deshaun Jackson. Deshaun Jackson can't stay healthy. Torrey Smith was a bust. So the free agent acquisitions that they've brought in haven't hit. But what about the draft? Howie Roseman gets a lot of credit for the building this team, and he's drafted and brought in a lot of talented players. But he has really struggled at the receiver position. In 2019, the Eagles, looking to make that next step, give Carson Wentz a weapon. In the second round, they drafted J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, a wide receiver out of Stanford, a guy that I didn't like. I didn't think he was very good. A lot of people loved him. I saw on draft Twitter, there was Mike Evans comparisons. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside was going to be an upgraded Mike Evans. And instead, even with all the struggles that the Eagles have had, Arcega-Whiteside can't see the field because he feasted in the Pac-12 on crappy defenses. KJ Costello literally would just throw the ball up to him and Arcega-Whiteside would box out the corner and then just go up and win a jump ball. You can't do that in the NFL. Arcega-Whiteside can't separate. He's not that good of an athlete, and he's failed. And what makes that pick even worse, a few picks later, the Seattle Seahawks take DK Metcalf, who isn't a finished product yet, but he's already shown to be an elite playmaker with elite characteristics to move forward. Those two are similar players. It's not like, hey, DK Metcalf was drafted, 2 rounds later, and they're different type of receivers. They're very similar type of receivers. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside was that big physical down the field weapon that DK Metcalf is. Then in 2020, the next year, after they've already seen that Arcega-Whiteside's a failure. A failed pick, not a failure. In the first round, they take TCU's Jalen Reagor. Slot receiver, quick, fast, gonna get open. The very next pick, Minnesota Vikings take Justin Jefferson, who's probably gonna go on to win Rookie of the Year. I mean, Justin Jefferson came in to replace Stephon Diggs, who's one of the better receivers in the NFL, and practically played better than him. Once again, Justin Jefferson's a bigger receiver, but both slot type guys. Even a little bit later, the San Francisco 49ers, they take Brandon Ayuk. Another, similar type receiver, maybe once again a little bit bigger, but it's not like it's a big physical guy compared to Reagor, the small, fast, quick guy. So Howie Roseman in the last 2 drafts has had a chance to upgrade the receiver position and just whiffed immensely. And who knows, would Justin Jefferson be the guy that he is with the Eagles? Probably. DK Metcalf? I don't know. I'm a little more bullish on that because I think he went to a perfect fit with the Seahawks, but I still think he would have been a far bigger upgrade than what Arcega-Whiteside has given. So right there, the organization has struggled to give Carson Wentz options, give him weapons, free agency or in the draft. Now, some are going to blame the drafting of Jalen Hurts as something that killed the confidence of Carson Wentz. I don't blame the Eagles for that. They needed a quality backup because Wentz has struggled to be injury free. And they had Nick Foles for all those years. They weren't going to be able to continue to pay him. So they needed to draft somebody. And they went with the second round with Hurts because you need to get a quality guy. So I don't blame them for that. And if Carson Wentz is worried about that, that's on him because hey, they paid you all that money. They told you they trust you because they paid you. And so whatever, Carson Wentz struggles this year. And I felt like, and we'll get into Jalen Hurts in just a second, but I don't think Doug Pederson really did anything to help out Carson Wentz this year. As Carson Wentz has continued to struggle, they continued to just be the status quo. Throw the ball 35 to 45 times a game, continue to do everything that they've always done, and it wasn't working. Instead of maybe trying to, hey, let's run the ball. We've got this running back named Miles Sanders, who's a good running back. Let's give him the ball. Let's feed him the ball. Let's take some of the pressure off of Carson Wentz. Now, I get it. The offensive line wasn't very good. It was banged up. But Miles Sanders was still getting yards. So they bench Carson Wentz for Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts comes in, a guy that I liked coming out of college. But he's still developing as a quarterback. And what do the Eagles do? They do a good job. Doug Pederson, they simplify the offense. They find plays that Jalen Hurts had success with in college, and they run those, and Jalen Hurts puts on some good numbers for a few weeks. And I think back, and it's like, why didn't you do that with Carson Wentz? Why didn't you simplify the offense? Find a handful or certain plays that Wentz has his most success and focus in on those. Simplify, make it, did Carson, but then that also runs the risk. Did Carson Wentz want to simplify the offense? Did he want to go back to maybe making a couple reads? Who knows? There is definitely some disconnect between Doug Pederson and Carson Wentz, and maybe Doug Pederson said, he's not going to do that thing, so I can't trust him. I'm not going to do it, but that needed to happen. So I think that's where they kind of struggled there. And so as I look to the future, I think, can Carson Wentz be saved? And I know I talked about the Eagles, and the whole purpose of this is why did the Eagles fail? Well, if I think of how the Eagles can dig out of this, they have to fix Carson Wentz. He's going to be their quarterback. The money that they're paying him is going to make him their quarterback. Sure, they'll have a competition, and he'll have to beat out Jalen Hurts. But let's be honest, with the money that they're paying Carson Wentz, he's going to be the starter. So they need to, first off, get a coach that's offensive minded. You have to. You can't roll out a defensive coach. I know there's a lot of good defensive coaches out there that have had success. You got to fix Carson Wentz, and so you got to get that offensive guy. So you need an offensive minded coach that's willing to work with and get Carson Wentz back. Then you got to build up around him. You have to address that wide receiver position. I don't care if you drafted Jalen Reagor in the first round last year. You need to go. You have the 6th overall pick. You're going to have a shot at either Jamar Chase, Devontae Smith, or Jalen Waddell. I think if they have a shot at Jamar Chase, that should be their guy. I think he'd fit well with Jalen Reagor. You got more of a physical guy, and Rager's more of the speed guy. If Chase is gone, which he very well could be, I think Devontae Smith is that option there. Speed, good route runner. Back in the day, we always said, you got to have different types of receivers, and you still do. But you don't pass on a Devontae Smith because you got a Jalen Reagor. I think those two can kind of work together. We see what the Chiefs do with having several smaller speed-type receivers. Okay? Do they go that route? Okay? And I think Carson Wentz can be saved. That's the big question. Can Carson Wentz be saved? I think he can. I mean, like I said, 2 years ago, MVP candidate. He's had one bad year, other than just injuries. There is history on his side. Peyton Manning, in 2001, had a terrible 4th year. Even his 5th year wasn't very good. Year 3, they're 11 wins, went to the playoffs. Year 4, 6 wins, threw over 20 interceptions. Your 5th year, threw over 20 interceptions again, and then we've gone on to see what Peyton Manning did after that. So Carson Wentz isn't Peyton Manning, but we've seen another elite quarterback have success early, struggle for a couple years, and then regain it. So maybe a new head coach, new scheme, getting healthy, getting some weapons. That year that Peyton Manning, his fourth year, they struggled. That next year, they drafted Reggie Wayne. So then you had Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne, and the rest is history. So get Carson Wentz a weapon, get him an offensive-minded head coach that's going to work with him, and I think he can still have success in this league.